Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of the Smashy Business Show. I am Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Richard Fitzgerald.
Today is the 6th of December, Friday, the last working day of the week, but a lot of things are still happening. Dubai, the Middle East, the UAE, they never sleep. Everything is happening throughout this time because it's event season. And a lot of events are happening. Bitcoin Mina is taking place Monday and Tuesday. Abu Dhabi Business Week is currently happening today. Is a closed door event, Richard was telling me.
Yeah, exclusive invite only. It's been really well attended, Majid, this week, and it's back to back. They've got one entity in Abu Dhabi runs the Business Week this week, and another entity is running Abu Dhabi Finance Week in line with that capital moniker that Abu Dhabi has smartly adopted as their kind of external branding and things like that. But it is non-stop, and you know, each of there's F1 in Abu Dhabi this weekend. You mentioned Bitcoin Mina. You had the director on the show yesterday, and it's just non-stop, and all the celebs, all the restaurants, all the tourism, but the actual business deals are happening, and the Gulf is really on one, and long may it continue.
Yeah. So all this is happening in the Gulf region, in the MENA region. Let's talk about some of the stories that are happening, the big stories. One of the things that caught our eye was the Dubai duty-free numbers. They have a target of $2 billion for the year 2024, and they have nearly achieved it. They went up to 1.94 billion till now, till the end of November. And the interesting thing about it is that perfumes are the biggest category contributing to it. You see, obviously, whenever you travel, you take chocolates and all that stuff, but perfumes, surprisingly, are the biggest product that people are buying from Dubai Duty Free. It has contributed nearly 200 November contributed 205.7 million, and perfumes added $362 million to this 2 billion pool.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, and so Dubai duty free, you know, for people, the history of the duty free actually started with Air Rienzi in Ireland, and you know, in other countries there's import tariffs and duties. It's a fiscal policy, and you don't have to pay taxes when you're in the airport because the airport isn't a country per se, because you've checked in your passport, you've left the country. So that's the history of it. And Dubai Duty Free was a new entity that was set up in line with a gentleman called Colin McLaughlin over 40 years ago. And he recently passed, Allah Yarhamu, and there is actually a memorial for him in the Creeks Hotel next Thursday in Dubai. But he was 81 and he only stepped down in May. And, you know, this is a real economic driver. But you know what, Majid, the duty-free thing doesn't have to be successful everywhere. Every airport and every country in the region has duty-free, like Cairo duty-free or in Qatar. But the Dubai one worked really well because they ran it really well. And I think that's a testament. But the other sort of headline thing that you've rightly pointed out is the perfumes, because it's just another indicator of the beauty category in the region, the branding, the category. It is a cluttered space, but it's rising, and we see it online. And I might sort of make a point in that we're seeing this obviously in the retail space, and you know what they might say bricks and mortar and tourism and travel. But there's an IPO happening in the Tadawul in Riyadh at the moment for a company called Nice One, which is an online beauty, kind of like Shein, but actually more about beauty products. It launched in 2017, and its numbers are unbelievable. And they're going for $1 billion pricing, and they should list in Jan. But they're doing their kind of retail investment on Tadawul at the moment, subscription. And it's just incredible that if you can get this sector right, and there's many failures, there's many attempts in this sector that don't work, but if you can get this sector right, this region is a really ripe area for local products and local brands.
Yeah, and also apart from perfumes, gold was also bought a lot in Dubai duty free. So these are like there's one commodity and one. I would suggest that perfumes are a luxury item. You buy the best of the perfumes because they're expensive. When they go up in quality, they become very expensive.
How is the gold bought?
Gold, the numbers were.
How's it bought? So I wasn't familiar with that. You could do it through AlAbbar exchange, or actually in the duty-free section?
In the duty-free section, there is a gold section, so you can buy 5-gram biscuits and 10-gram biscuits on the price. So that's the good part about it. So that contributed nearly 200 million to the whole 2 billion thing as well. So these are the top two categories. But apart from that, Dubai Duty Free has nearly everything. You go through the Dubai airport, it's a very long walk. If you take the walk, there's everything, food, everything. So let's see. Hopefully, Dubai does good. I think one of the factors, Rich, I would take your suggestion on opinion on this, is that the amount of people coming to Dubai has increased. So Dubai airports is recording a lot of numbers, increased numbers, record traffic.
Yeah, I
So
think the
that is
airports,
why.
they're looking at you get the numbers right, and people will correct me, and we've often posted them, but it's, they're trying to go for that 90 million number.
Yeah.
Dubai tourism is going for that 20 million number. It's up at near abouts there at the moment. I think we're nearly back at 2019, maybe numbers pre-pandemic. But and obviously people come through the airport and they transition and they go to the duty free. That number, that 2 billion revenue number, is a nice number. Like if you look at what RTA did, where they spun off their subsidiaries to the public markets with Parkin and with Salik, you just seem to think that there's a prototype there for what is the sort of combined entities around this airport, right? Because you've got Emirates, you've got Dubai airports, which have their own revenue, and Dubai Duty Free, which have 2 billion revenue. I'm not advising the capital market strategy for Dubai, but you have three potential listings there in one. So let's see.
Yeah, and it's good that everything complements each other. So Dubai airport's doing good, complements
There's
Dubai
Danata
Duty
as
Free.
well, and there's more. I just picked three, but there's more in around that sort of Transguard as well, are in around there as well. Like all sort of, and they've also got a free zone down there on the Sheikh Ahmed as well. With, Silicon Oasis, but there's also Dubai Airport free zone. So there's many different sort of, as you said, they're complementary, Majid, but there's many different economic drivers there and spin-offs. And when you look at aviation in general, it has many different parts to it. There's freight, there's there's different types of travel, obviously, and there's also different types of business models around purchasing and leasing and all sorts of things.
It's a big industry, the aviation industry.
And Dubai Duty Free, actually, they spend. I remember I interviewed Colin McLaughlin a few years ago, and he told me that there's a percentage that they spend on marketing that's related to the top line. So no matter what, the percentage doesn't change. I don't think he revealed the number, but if that's 1, 2, or 5 or 10%, that's from that 2 billion number. Nice. So that means they sponsor the horse racing events in Ireland around the world, but it's the Dubai Duty Free Tennis Championships, the one that takes place every year. They actually own that event. So the pot of cash comes from there. And I think it's an interesting business planning strategy. People will debate about what works for marketing or not, but Dubai Duty Free is a household name, and a lot of it is part of their sponsorship. And similarly, Emirates follow a similar strategy. I don't know if it's to do with the top line revenue, but with sponsorship and marketing, they also, that's been a really key cornerstone of their branding. This year we saw the signing of the NBA and naming rights of the mid-season. So not the NBA finals, but they're having a season break tournament in December, I think, in January in the US, and it's called the NBA Cup, just like the Emirates FA Cup in the UK and the Emirates Stadium with Arsenal, etc. So not only are they operatingly sharing resources, they're also following a similar branding and marketing strategy.
The idea, I guess, is to put their name everywhere. So, and with such a big brand, I think Emirates, they don't need marketing to get more sales or bring more customers in. They just need to maintain their brand level there. It's for optics mostly, because I don't think Emirates, if you tell anyone what Emirates is, they'll say, oh, it's an airline. But I think to just maintain that level, that we are the Emirates, they have to be everywhere. They want to put their name everywhere. As you said, the mid-season cup and everything.
Yeah, that's their strategy. It's very good. What isn't optics these days in terms of marketing? But
everything is optics. So moving on about optics. Good segue for the next story. The Noon founder, Mohammed AlAbbar, who is also the founder of Emaar, he gave a very nice interview to Arabian Business, and the quotes were to the point, clear, and he wasn't talking about, oh, we'll build this. He was like, we will be the dominant force in the region soon. This is our land. We will own it soon. And it's a very nice, I really loved the interview, because usually when you see founders, They're talking about strategies and this and that. It becomes, I don't know, there's no clarity in it. There's ambiguity of what they want to do. He was very clear.
He was, and he always is.
Yeah.
We will take care of our hometown. He
Yeah.
quoted. We're very close to being the largest delivery and e-commerce
Yeah.
company in Dubai and the region. Some of this is protectionism. Some of it is correct in terms of if you can generate a homegrown success, like we mentioned with Emirates, that has knock-on and inspiration, but also keeps investment, intellect, and staff and profits in the region. I thought the whole Noon strategy when it launched at the start was very bold to take on Amazon after they acquired Souk. I thought it was very bold, and I thought it was almost. I didn't think they were getting it right, if I'm honest. A few years ago, they were sort of buying up Namshi, buying up a few others, and I thought that, is this a real estate playbook for the Amazon world? Yeah. And you know what? They got it right. And I'll tell you anecdotally, I remember meeting a Saudi businessman a few years ago, and he told me for the first time he would see people lining up over Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr to queue up to deliver the Noon gifts in the morning or whatever. So we saw the shift in e-commerce, and I'll talk a little bit more about e-commerce because it's a nice kind of. We talked about nice one, but there's also obviously AlAbbar. But in terms of what's happened in the region, he got the timing maybe a little bit late, but Apple do that, and then they did it really well. But their killer feature is Noon Minutes, and this sort of convergence with utility with e-commerce. You've got. You've obviously got delivery apps, you've got ride-hailing apps, and then you have groceries, and then you have, obviously other types of delivery, which Noon Minutes are really doing well. But he proudly is making this statement, and I remember he's brilliant with the quotes, is Hamid AlAbbar. But I remember a few years ago he said, if Jeff Bezos comes to my house, I'll poison his food, in a joke. In other words, I see you as the rival, and and also anecdotally, obviously we have the AlAbbar IPO. I think they go out on the 11th. I think it's next week where they go public, and we've covered it extensively on Smash Your Business. They were raising $1 billion, and then they knocked it up to $2 billion. And I actually, at the Landmark Group 50th anniversary event last week, I met one of the underwriters for this IPO. Kuwaiti banker who's with Goldman Sachs, Jassim, and he told me that they're hoping for the best with this IPO. But it was in conversation with Mudassir from Kareem, and he also mentioned that maybe the margins on AlAbbar long term are not as attractive as people might think. The profits are really good now, but that was an interesting insight. I don't know if that was on the record or off the record, but it's just good to know that they're all looking at this stuff because they're all, we do think that Kareem will look at this market as well, but they did agree that the timing's perfect. We're going to have a blockbuster IPO, and who knows, we've covered the backstory with Noon. It was a fully funded Dubai startup, and then PIF and Saudi sort of did that. So I think that's really key, Majid, because if PIF and Saudi didn't own 50% of Noon, then they, as a kingdom, they wouldn't get behind it as much as they will now. And in terms of Noon's next growth, like Mohammed AlAbbar in his quotes is talking about UAE, obviously, when he says, we will take care of our hometown because that's where it started. But I think for everyone following this story, the fact that it's going to succeed in Saudi as well, is really key here, and it's fascinating.
And the part that you mentioned about them going for that blockbuster IPO, this Bloomberg report, clearly there were like 4 or 5 experts, and they all agreed that AlAbbar was very smart with their pricing. So Lulu, what we saw, they did a very high-end price, and when they opened on the market, they didn't perform really well. For 3 days, the price was flat, 2.04 dirhams every day. It didn't like go to 4 or 5 dirhams. With them, they put a very low price on their per share price. So 1.6 is the final price now at which the shares have been bought, the 20% shares. And I think when again, not an investment advice, but I think when they open on December 11th, the price will go up. There is a high chance because they kept a very low price. So hopefully, let's see what they will do on the market itself. because that is when you get the reality check. Lulu got a very big reality check. They went flat. So let's see what happens with AlAbbar.
Yeah.
Do you think it will go up? There is a chance.
So there's a lot of different drivers on this. Like what we know is that a lot of the employees, the C-suite, a lot of the percentage ownership in AlAbbar isn't in the region.
Yeah.
So sometimes, Majid, they have lock-ins. So what causes a price to go down? Two things: demand after listing, and also people selling.
Yeah.
So if there's a lock-in period of 90 days, sometimes these are built in. If you're part of the shareholding, then you can't sell. So that's one driver gone. And then the other driver is demand. So I think a lot of this retail listing, usually IPOs in the US are initial public offering, and a direct listing is going to the public directly, and then you potentially get a spike. But when you go to the market first, when you do a institutional roadshow, you only take the institutional capital, right? So when you do the IPO, the retail demand comes, and in this region, we're being allowed as retail investors through our banks. So you're actually getting the pop and the demand before. So people are judging all these listings indifferent to the US, and they're kind of saying, oh, are things up, things down? And they're saying that there's not liquidity in the markets. But there is liquidity, it's just done pre. And so the IPO is the retail tranche. Okay, it's only 5 or 10%, but we're seeing massively oversubscribed. And if we cut out the retail tranche, and I think that'll be the future. If we cut out the retail tranche in the IPOs, unless it's a direct listing, then post-IPO, you're going to get more of a bump because that pent-up demand hasn't had its chance to get out. And I think with what's happening with Sarwa, with Baraka, with Weo Bank, like the brokers and BHM Capital and all these different brokers, the retail tranches and apps, the Robinhood effect and all that is coming more and more into the region. And so I think we're going to have more and more different poppings and not. In terms of timing, the demand is there. The Gulf is on fire. There's a lot of private capital. They thought they could barely raise $1 billion. They got $2 billion.
$2 billion,
and that's pre. So the ones who are going the ones who want to, who's winning here? The ones who are listing. The ones who want money. The companies are winning. It depends what they do with this money. Is the retail investor winning and the institutional investor? Not right now, and not in this wave of IPOs. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because the banker from Goldman Sachs said we need this to be a success. And define success. I think it depends on which lens you're coming from. If you're the company, it's a success because your coffers are full and you can expand AlAbbar further. And we know that some of this money is going to pay down Delivery Hero's $4 billion debt in Frankfurt or whatever, which isn't great. But Spinneys and Lulu, like, is that not a success? Well, it's a success for them because they've now got basically a free loan. Now, before they would have had to go to the private capital banks and get high interest to expand. Now they go to the public markets, they get the cash, they either line their own pockets or they reinvest into the business, depending on what they want to do. And that's what's happening here. So I think it's going to be a huge success in terms of a blockbuster and set precedent. It's the biggest tech
IPO in MENA and the...
if not the world, no?
Oh, sorry. The biggest tech IPO in the world,
It's not the world this year. I think it's a 12 billion valuation. I think it's 2 billion off the... I think it's one of the biggest in the world. Like, it's huge this year. There haven't been that many tech listings, and the fact that they choose DFM over ADX and over NASDAQ and over London, right? Like, 4 or 5 years ago, we were talking about should Aramco list in NASDAQ, and then they did Tadawul, and now will they list in London or NASDAQ? A lot of the Chinese still like New York for some reason, but what are the other big IPOs? We're waiting for ByteDance to go out. They haven't, and obviously these companies can list in China or NASDAQ, but like the capital markets in this region is going to get very interesting. And the success and how the media carries the narrative and how these investment bankers talk about what is success really depends on what way you're looking at it. But yeah.
The way you explained it, now I've realized that every day when you read the news, especially the Saudi news, more than Tadawul, the smaller market, every day someone is announcing that they're going to the market. So yes, I completely agree that yes, people are listing and they will be the winners because they see that there is capital out there. They want it from the public, and then they're using it to come out of Saudi Arabia, go into the region, go global. So that's a very good idea.
And there's two winners in the liquidity moment. There's so it depends on what you do with the cash. There's the companies who use that to grow, but there's also the angel investors and VCs. And for many years, the VCs weren't. They were the ones taking the risk in the region, and they weren't exiting. There was one MVEP, if that's what they're called, an acronym like that. They were around 10 years before they had an exit, and their exit was Angami and Nasdaq. So I think it was their first exit. So how are they funding their fund? How are they keeping the people, the LPs who put the money in for the fund? How are they keeping them happy? This is important because that's the base of all this. Yeah. That's the base of the original thing. And when the retail investor, the institutional, has confidence in the capital markets, I think that's going to come a bit later. And it's a lot to do with governance and with accountability and with economics of the region, which we think are good at the moment also.
So anyone going for IPO in Saudi Arabia and Dubai, there is cash out there. There is people ready to invest, retail investors, institutional investors. Everyone is ready. So if you're not going, I guess you should go right now. This is the perfect moment, what we are seeing in the market right now.
It takes a while though. Like you have to, again, same banker mentioned Flowered, and Flowered were going to go public, and now they moved it a year or so. I'm not sure how much I'm revealing, but like basically, IPO isn't all that it's slammed up to. It will take up your team's resources for 18 months. It's like it's like fundraising, and it can backfire, and it can the wrong timing and the wrong IPO can really mess up a company.
Just on this topic, I just realized something. Emirates and Etihad, they're also planning their IPOs. Emirates says next year. Etihad was planning end of this year.
Etihad's really close. We know about Etihad. It's really close. It's not really official stuff on Emirates, but let's see.
Yeah, but I remember there was this aviation conference right around GITEX that was happening, and the Etihad CEO was like, we were planning for 2024, Q4 2024, but now we've pushed it to the first half of 2025. So that's at least confirmed that they are planning it. When they do it, let's see. It's again it will be one of the biggest IPOs in the regions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Etihad going for that. Let's talk about money more, and let's go into the property. There's a Knight Frank report that came out. It has astronomical climbing numbers for Dubai property. Very shortly, the prices are set to climb 8% across the board: luxury market, commercial market, rental market, all the markets included. The average is that prices will go up 8% in the next year. That's the report by Knight Frank. They're one of the biggest consultants and research groups in the region, so we can trust them somehow.
Yeah, I think. Do you know that post on Instagram was shared about 1,000 times? I think real estate and rent prices and property prices is just a hot topic. Like I think there was also a report saying the property prices in Dubai increased for 17 consecutive quarters, and it looks like this will be an 18th, and according to this report, maybe a 19th. Honestly, that's bubble territory.
Yeah.
The history of the world and the private markets and capital markets, nothing keeps going up.
Yeah.
I don't mean that, in Dubai, in the recent sort of couple of decades, we think it's boom and crash, and it's either all in or all out, and it's all this sort, and it's FOMO and it's cyclical. But look, just go on ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT for a history of the property prices in New York over the last 100 years, and you'll see the same thing. Yeah. We think that owning a plot of land in Manhattan is gold, right?
Yeah.
But actually, there's neighborhoods there that went up, went down, 60s, 70s, 80s, all different times. Like obviously the 20s crash and stuff like that. So I think, if GDP growth in UAE is 3-4% this year, plus the same next year, Saudi's 5%, And honestly, I do think the crypto stuff has a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
Like it went to $104,000. Those people will cash out a little bit, drop to 95 overnight. And there's a huge event that you covered with the director yesterday. I think these people buy these properties, and the agents part of the system and the ecosystem, and RERA and the Dubai Land Department. I think there's still momentum there. Usually with these things, they last longer than you think. Yeah. But it's not going to keep going up at the pace because that's just the cyclical nature of things.
There's this just one thing that keeps me hopeful in regards to property is that people are still moving into Dubai, and the demand will be there. As said by the report, that it's the demand that's causing it to rise, not like the other factors.
Absolutely.
But the most important thing that I think is, even if the bubble doesn't burst, like it comes crashing down, there will be some sort of correction at least. So correction-wise, it can happen. For the last 2 years since I've been in this country, I've been hearing, the bubble will burst, but the prices are going up and up and up.
Yeah, I like this number that they gave us. What percentage did they give us?
8%.
Yeah, I like that number. I think, if it was up, what's the percentage this year? Like 20 something?
This year, the number, if I would say, it was the same, because that's like the safe region every report quotes, around 8 to 10%. So this year was 8 to 10%.
Yeah, I think the S&P 500 was up 30 or 40% this year, and I think it'll be about 3-4% next year, and then potentially 26 is when we have a bit of correction. But that nice acronym, the Roaring Twenties, which was described in the US 100 years ago. I think the Gulf is having the Roaring Twenties this decade. So believe in the Gulf, back the UAE, and keep going. But just choose your investments wisely.
Just a closing question. Do you think Dubai's property or the UAE's property will be affected by Riyadh and Jeddah and the Saudi growth? Because obviously people would want to invest in a place which is more profitable, and Saudi is growing. So will that affect somehow the UAE property prices, do you think? Is there a chance?
In terms of the product available in the market, they're not comparable right now. I think Riyadh has a way to go. The supply and demand in Riyadh, there's a crunch. The housing ministry are doing the best they can. I was with ARM Holding yesterday, and they have Hive in JBC, which is a co-living space, and they're launching 5 of them in Riyadh.
Nice.
And a lot of our team in Augustus, Saudi, and Augustus, in our office, north of the city, Anas bin Malik, near Al Narjis area, a lot of our team who we relocate from different parts of the kingdom can't find accommodation. So the housing ministry did great, and they provided. We talked about this with Ali Shahabi in the past. They provided, mortgages. They provided attractive mortgages. But there's a supply and demand factor at the moment. We'll see more developments. We'll see more cities. The Riyadh city is being built. There's lots of big developments by Russian being built. And I just think it's going to take a while at that level in terms of the product available. But it will happen. And once it happens, I think those who had success in Dubai might look at Saudi as well. But those people will become even more wealthier and will have more means, so we'll be able to do more, and then new people will enter the market. It's all projecting. It's just opinions. It's just views. The great thing is that we're having these conversations and that we have a lot to talk about, and we see the progress.
Yeah, and Saudi Arabia, Adam Newman, the guy from Flow, we did a story on him. He also launched a project, the housing project in Saudi Arabia. So I think that's a hint that people are moving there, preferring Saudi Arabia for their new projects because, again, available capital, the PIF is big, the government is big. So
he's a track record of failure. So,
so let's see.
Overhyping things. So I would hope that the successes come from people from who are doing it for the right reasons here. But let's see, foreign direct investment is really important as well. But governance and credibility. Imagine we had a WeWork situation here where it's valued at tens and tens of billions, and then a week before it goes public, it drops, and then it never goes public, and it's covered in debt, and the founder leaves. like we don't need a WeWork, we don't need an Enron, we don't need people like that spoofing and making stuff up and losing the confidence in the market. We don't need that. What we need is credible, visionary people who deliver what they say. And inshallah, this region will have those homegrown stories.
Yeah, and they already have. We have a lot of success stories. Someday we'll get Rich again and we'll talk about the success stories as well. Thank you very much, Rich, for joining me today. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great weekend, everyone. If you're planning to go to Bitcoin Mina, maybe if we go there, we'll see you too. It's a good event. The owner said very nicely that it's an event for the people who love Bitcoin. Don't think about any other currency when coming to Bitcoin Mina, because Bitcoin Mina is only about Bitcoin. So that's it from us today. Thank you very much for joining us. We have the sports show, Smashy Sports Show, which happens after this at 11. So tune in for that as well. Follow Smashy Sports everywhere as well.
That's a good shout, Majid. They have 4 games on tonight. I'm going to call them out because one is the UAE FA Division 2 football, where Precision Club are playing against Al Mouj Club. We've also got volleyball. Who do we have? We have Ajman against Al Wasl. And then we have 2 basketball games, Al Wasl Club against Al Nasser and Sharjah against Shabab Al Ahli. All starting at 7 p.m. tonight on Smashy. You can get that Smashy TV app wherever you want.
Just download it on your phone and watch the matches wherever you want. Also, Smashy Sports is the proud sponsor of the national basketball team of the UAE. So yeah, you can see our jerseys there as well when they play, whenever they play. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for following us on social media. We see a lot of engagement now on our accounts. So it's all because of you. Thank you so much. We have 1.34 million followers. I love to say this. And if you're one of them, thank you so much for listening and interacting with whatever we're trying to do here, building a brand which talks about business, tech, startup success stories, everything in the MENA region. Take care. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
All the best.